I did have one more question. Well, we could do this 1,000 times over, and I still have 1,000 questions. But I had a question about Halo Wars. Halo Wars to me was a very interesting project that I feel like no one talks about. It's an RTS game set around a franchise which mostly people that played first-person shooters played on a console. Like it seems so. It's someone got rolled the dice and. Huh?
Halo Wars was totally on a console. In fact, so here's
how did this come about?
Okay, here's how it came about. We already talked for over an hour. Are you sure you want to do this now?
I don't. I mean, to me, I could do this all day. I mean, that's always fun.
Okay, well, this will be the last thing because I have other fish to fry today.
Yeah, if you're busy, that's another story. No problem.
Here's the story. What happened is that we had two teams, and one of the teams was doing our next RTS game, and we were going to do it, and the task was to do it for the Xbox. Okay,
right.
Make an RTS game on the Xbox, which we all knew would be a challenge because, of course, keyboard and mouse is like it. I mean, it's in the Bible. It's how you play
the holy grail of RTS games.
Yes, it must be keyboard and mouse, right? So that was the first thing, and then the rest of us were finished. We're doing. I was doing the War Chiefs, and then after that, the science fiction game still wasn't done. So we went off and we were doing other projects, which never got done. But there was a lot of different teams doing little projects. Mine was actually a monster gladiator game.
Okay.
But
I'll add that to my list for next time. Anyway,
so what happened is that so we're doing the science fiction game, and it's coming along, and there's like Martians are invading Earth, and there's giant monsters and this stuff. And one of the Tim Dean and a couple other guys, mostly Tim Dean, sat down and said, "We're going to spend 1 year and do nothing but perfect the interface so that you can play it as easily and fast on the Xbox as you could on a computer."
Wow, that's a massive endeavor.
They totally did it. A year of smart guys do it. Like, for example, the way that you can't drag and select with a mouse, with a keyboard, with a controller, but they made it happen. The way they did it was you'd move your control thing to an area or click on a unit, and then you'd hold the activate button down, and the longer you held it, the bigger the circle would be of all the guys you'd call.
Brilliant.
Kind of like Pick.
Yeah.
We didn't play Pick at the time, and so you'd get them all, and it worked just like dragging and clicking with your hand. You could even make mistakes like you do when you drag and click. Okay, but it lets you control the guys. It was you'd hop around between your units. There was a lot of things going on that made it. It was a pretty good interface. I'm not sure if it was better than the keyboard mouse, but it certainly was the best interface that had ever been done for an RTS on console.
Right.
So they did that, and then they had this whole plan going up, and then Microsoft was like, "We don't want another franchise." And then the villains came in, and I was one of them. Okay, we came in and said, "Hey, why are we doing a whole science fiction game when Microsoft has this Halo license that's huge? Why do we want to make our own weird thing about Martians that has no real future? We can piggyback on Halo, make the big bucks, and it's the same game."
Yeah.
Right? It's just all you got to do is change your Space Marines into Spartans.
Sure.
And your giant
Apologies for this commercial interruption. If you love Sandy like I do, please check out his YouTube channel. I will leave a link down below. And if you love board games, please check out petersengames.com.
Alien elephants into scarabs and all that kind of stuff. So basically people outside the team bullied the team into changing it into Halo Wars.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense. But then some people on the team, notably the lead, got butthurt by this. And it's not my game anymore. It's dead to me because it's not my alien space elephants. It's Halo, and so it's not mine. So everything about this is still yours. But the thing is that the lead designer, this is his first job ever as a designer. He'd been a programmer before. He was a great programmer, but he hadn't had experience as a designer. And like I said, and so he thought designers got to make up things like however they wanted. And I did, like I said, when I was a designer for all those years, 30 years, I got to make up the topic for my game one time only, and that was hyperspace, which kind of bombed. But so maybe I shouldn't have. But I mean, now I do it all the time because I own my own company.
Yeah,
I am giving orders, right? But yeah. So he didn't. I don't think he had the right idea about. He was he was a good guy, and I still like him, but I think that he was a little bit too much artist and not enough craftsman, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So anyway, he didn't want to do the game, and then we started working on it, and then the changeover took time, and there was lots of things going on. And basically what happened is the game was essentially delayed a year in the various infighting and other things that we did. And my guess is that if we had actually not had all that internal struggle to do it, okay, but in fact done it a year earlier, which we could have done, then Microsoft would have not been in a position to shut us down.
Wow, that's
as it was. They almost couldn't because they really wanted Halo Wars badly, and they should have. It sold, I think, 3 million copies, something like that. So it was a huge hit for them on the Xbox.
But this is the thing I don't understand. The Halo franchise is people that enjoy first-person shooters. A console is built not for RTS games. So, like, if you were to go into a meeting and pitch to a bunch of big suits, you would tell them we have an RTS Halo game on Xbox. They're like, who the hell is going to buy this, right? Isn't that the...
It's the other way around. The suits came to us and said, you do great RTS games. We want to sell the Xbox more. Do an RTS game for the Xbox. They don't know anything about if it works on it. They don't know anything about games.
They got lucky.
Right?
They got lucky that it did as well as it did. No, I mean, not lucky in the sense.
3 million copies is not just that's an actual success.
I mean, no. I'm not saying lucky in the sense like obviously they knew you were capable of making a good game. They got lucky that there was an audience to even buy this thing on Xbox. On
the idea we had, I think, in our heads is that while there are people that are loyal to RTS games, and actually RTS games get a lot more loyalty than shooters do. Like if you're a big fan of Quake and someone comes along with Serious Sam, you will totally switch and try out Serious Sam. You don't care. But if you're vested in Age of Empires 2, you may not want to try Dominion
or StarCraft or all these other games.
Or StarCraft, because so that's why they have these wars over which RTS game is the best, or they used to, right? Because you want people to only play your RTS game and not anyone else's, because that's where your knowledge is. See, you have a similar thing with MMOs. You don't have a lot of MMOs you're playing all the time. You have one, and so every other MMO must be bad because
you're also sinking a lot of time into these games, and you don't want to. You don't want to switch ship when you're 300 hours into a.
Sure. The thing is, if I switch ship from Age of Empires 2 to StarCraft, like I'm a beginner again. But if I switch from shooter A to if I switch from Quake to Halo, it's like the same skills. I have to learn a couple new buttons, but I know how to strafe. I know what to do.
Right.
It's the same skill set, but it's not the same skill set. Anyway, they ordered us to do an Xbox game. So this game was always going to be on the Xbox.
Interesting.
And so that's where that came from. But then it wasn't always going to be a Halo game. And then it became one, and then we ran out of time because one of the things we wanted to do, we wanted to have 3 different sides, just like Age of Mythology, and just like, for that matter, like StarCraft, right?
Yeah.
So we were going to have the humans and the Covenant and the Flood as a third side, and we weren't able to complete the Flood. So the Flood are just in there as enemies. And so to make up for that, each of the 2 sides we had 3 different possible leaders to give them different flavors. So it was kind of like a half-assed way.
It's the best you could do with the time and the budget, and knowing this you were going to shut down.
There was essentially a year of wasted time in the fighting over, and that hurt us a lot, right? So.
And you're not going to work on it again, so you're not nearly as motivated as you would be like Age of Empires, where
Well, especially when we found out that they were going to fire us all after it finished.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, well,
why do we care?
Zero then. Why do we care? And the reason we cared is because they're giving us money afterwards, but they weren't going to give us more money if it sold well.
Yeah.
They were only give us a severance pay. Right?
I got it.
We weren't so the only reason we cared about it was because our future companies we'd go to and say, hey, we did Halo Wars. And that's going to look good on our resume.
But for you, you didn't care. You already had like 20.
I had Age of Empires 2, we had Age of Empires 3, we had Age of right. I had Doom and Quake. I mean, my resume was golden. I was able to go. I mean, maybe I can't now because I'm 65. Who wants to hire a guy in my age group, right? But I probably could still get hired if I wanted to. But my resume was so good that they had to find reasons to not hire me.
That makes sense.